Part 2. Tomb Raider, Marry Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 11. As soon as everyone came in, they noticed the bearded Lyman. He had his eyes closed and his skin was dark, which was due to being sunburned all year round. Lyman, a guest has arrived. They are people sent by the state to conduct archaeology, the village chief shouted. Lyman slowly opened his eyes. But what caught his attention were Shirley Yang and Ding Sishan. His eyes were bright, staring at them non-stop. The whole person seemed to have lost his soul, and his throat was turning up and down. Hubei, I joked, I said, this is not the kind of unruly and difficult to get along with. Lyman glanced at Fatty Wang and asked, what are you talking about? I am difficult to get along with. I am a good person. Fatty Wang saw that he didn't seem to understand what he meant, so he pointed at Shirley Yang and said, did you see that this person is already married? This is my husband. Fat Wang pointed at Sumu. He then pointed at Ding Sishan and said, look at this one again. She is a real school beauty. Anyone who chases her can form a reinforced company. If you want to have her idea, go to the back and line up first. Ding Sishan's face turned red and she lowered her head. Shirley Yang was fine, looking at the living map. Everyone couldn't help but laugh, thinking that this fat man was really a high-level person who could quarrel with others. What do you want me to do? Lyman glared at Fatty Wang hatefully. Professor Chen hurriedly stepped forward and said, I said, big brother, we are here this time hoping to hire you as our guide to take us into the desert. Lyman nodded slightly and said with a smile, that's great, no problem, friends will give you the price of a friend. He acted like a profiteer, which made everyone laugh. Hubei I had heard about Feng Ji before, so he asked. It's windy season now, are you sure you can go into the desert? Windy season? Lyman smiled slightly and said, I go to the desert all year round. I don't know what wine season is. Thank you then. Professor Chen then handed a stack of money to Lyman. Lyman looked at the money and said, well, it's okay. Hubei I asked, then when will we leave? Lyman lay directly on the bed and said, it's windy season now, we have to wait for 2 months, and entering the desert now will be fatal. When everyone heard this, they all stared blankly. Hey, you old king. Fatty Wang was about to curse, but Hubei stopped him directly. The village chief took the lead and said, Lyman, what you are doing is wrong. These are people sent by the country and international friends. You are bringing shame to our village by doing this. Lyman said nonchalantly. I can't joke with their lives. Listening to this Xinjiang language, Sumu suddenly remembered the popular line here. Hey, are the grilled mutton skewers ready? Are the fresh mutton skewers ready? Sumu suddenly asked, how much does your camel cost? I bought it. Lyman waved his hands hurriedly and said, no, my camels are my life, I can't leave them. It's okay, as long as we come back from the desert, these camels will be returned to you, and we won't want any of them. When Lyman saw the rich man coming, he immediately got up from the bed. Oh, look, it's easy to talk about money. Shirley Yang asked, then when can we set off? Lyman said, we can set off soon. Everyone was speechless for a while. Then, Sumu signaled Shirley Yang to give money. Shirley Yang put a pile of money on the bed and said, is it okay now? Lyman looked at the money, then at the group of people, and shook his head. Oops, I suddenly remembered that my camels are not full yet. I will feed the camels in the next few days. When they are full, we will set off again. Everyone took a breath of cold air. Fatty Wang couldn't bear it anymore and said, this old bastard is playing roundabout tactics with us. He wants to increase the money again. And Lyman didn't say anything, and the village chief had no choice. He had known for a long time that this person was unreliable, but now he was the only one who dared to go to the desert. Fatty Wong suddenly discovered that this Lyman kept coming from time to time, secretly looking at Ding Sishan. He came to Ding Sishan and winked at her. Xiao Ding, go over and negotiate the price with him and see how much it is. Ding Saiqiang was stunned for a moment, then pursed his lips and walked to the bed with his head lowered. You, me, that. Ding Sishan hesitated for a long time and couldn't say a word, and suddenly became a little flustered. And Lyman was even more flustered. That, me, okay, don't, that. And Lyman seemed more nervous than Ding Sishan. He inadvertently raised his head and looked at Ding Sishan as if he were seeing a beautiful painting. I simply can't take my eyes away. Sumu suddenly had an idea. Maybe, everyone didn't persuade Lyman, who had succeeded, to. If it's Ding Sixian who can persuade her, maybe it will work. Tomb Raider, marry Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 12. Can you please stop asking for money? Ding Sishan hesitated for a long time before she uttered these words. Everyone was speechless for a while. They couldn't explain this guy in Lyman no matter how hard they tried. Just these few words can do it. Who knew that everyone just had this idea, and what else? On one side, Lyman nodded as if he was pounding garlic. Good. 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 Ding Sishan said timidly, can we leave tomorrow? Still so unpretentious, simple, and straightforward. Lyman yeah. Okay. No one knows whether Lyman heard it or not. This guy just nodded. This scene made everyone dumbfounded. This Ding Sishan is Tianqi Lyman. But Hu Bai and Wang Fatty both, why do people dislike Lyman? Finally, after everyone discussed it, they decided. Let's set off tomorrow. The next morning. Everyone was getting ready at the entrance of the village. At this time, there was already a fiery red cloud in the east. Lyman prepared a lot of bean cakes and salt to feed his camels. Professor Chen said with a smile, brother, I'm sorry for you to suffer with us this time. Lyman said sarcastically, what kind of suffering is this? It's obviously fatal. However, he spoke quickly. Turn, said something again. But, friends. Su. Mu raised his eyebrows slightly and said, why do I hear the word friends so scary? Lyman chuckled and didn't answer. Everyone moved forward, with their backs to the sun. In the desert, everyone saw a completely different scenery. Along the way, everything was endless and golden. Didn't you say it's dangerous? Why haven't you encountered any danger yet? Ding Sishan looked at the desert and found it very pleasing to the eye. She was happy in her heart and said casually. Sumu couldn't help but smile. He has to say it's dangerous, otherwise how can he ask for money? Everyone burst into laughter. Ding Sishan stared at Sumu, not knowing what she was thinking. Then she sang a song. Taklamakan water. This song is familiar to everyone. Soon, everyone was singing in unison as part of their free time. Shirley Yang felt a lot better looking at such a beautiful scenery. She came to Sumu and said, if we take a group of wedding photos here, it will be beautiful. No matter where you take the photo, it's beautiful. Sumu's mouth felt like honey, which made Shirley Yang's heart feel sweet. Halfway through the journey, the camels were a little tired. Lyman felt it first, so he quickly asked people to get off the camels to rest. Then, they all sat down to rest for a while. Shirley Yang took a camera and took pictures around her. She suddenly noticed a place, looked over there, and then took pictures with the camera. You see, the two mountains on the opposite side of the desert are called Holy Sepulchre Mountains. They are covered with wind-eroded mushrooms. The largest one is more than 5 meters high. While you still have the chance, hurry up and take some more photos. Shirley Yang ignored him and continued to take pictures. Ding Sishan asked Professor Chen in a low voice, Professor Chen, is this desert really so dangerous? Is it really like an Lyman said, will you die? Professor Chen smiled and said, why, Xiao Ding, are you scared, Ding? Sishan shook her head and said, it's not that I'm afraid, I'm just worried. Professor Chen said, don't worry, the people here are all masters, and their lives will definitely not be in danger, but our life will definitely be more difficult. Not far away. Sumu and Shirley Yang looked at the two holy tomb mountains, and they were lost in thought. Pretty? Sumu asked. Shirley Yang nodded and said, well, it's beautiful. The more beautiful something is, the more dangerous and terrifying it is. There must be danger in this mountain. Sumu said with some melancholy. What's wrong with you? Sumu smiled slightly, shook his head, and said nothing. After everyone finished resting, they prepared to lead the camels away. And Lyman looked at everyone and said, how about it, if you go back now, it's still too late. Hubie smiled and said, what are you talking about, and Lyman explained, you are the most persistent people I have ever seen. I advise you to go back quickly and don't lose your life in vain. I want to ask, how many times have you pulled someone halfway and then went back? Sumu asked. No, and Lyman said. In fact, what we just walked is not actually a desert. After passing the river bend, we enter the Black Desert, which is the real desert. And Lyman said very seriously. What is the Black Desert? Asked Shirley Yang. There are many cities and treasures buried in the Black Desert, but no one has ever been able to bring them out of the Black Desert. Even if you bring a gold coin, you will get lost in the Black Desert. They will be buried in the Black Desert forever and will never come out again. And Lyman stared at everyone with very firm and serious eyes. Hubie curled his lips and said, this is too evil. And Lyman waved his hands hurriedly and said, well, God uses this method to punish those greedy guys. Go back, go back. Suddenly, he saw Ding Sishan, who looked over with a look. And Lyman was instantly frightened. He lowered his head and said nothing. Everyone walked like this until nightfall. And Lyman stood on the hillside, looking at the colorful clouds in the western sky. He observed the weather for a long time, with a solemn expression on his face. Everyone also looked at the west and thought it was so beautiful. Shirley Yang said, what's wrong, is something going to change? The morning glow does not go out, but the sunset glow travels thousands of miles. The fiery red clouds in the morning are not a good sign, Sumu said. And Lyman nodded and said, yes. The clouds in the sky are bleeding. God is probably angry. The wind is going to blow in the desert again. It's going to be very windy, and Lyman said helplessly. Everyone was slightly startled and looked at the sky. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 13. Everyone looked at the sky and saw a few dark clouds floating quickly in the sky that was originally clear and blue without any clouds. Something doesn't seem right. And Lyman saw this phenomenon and immediately knelt down toward the sky, muttering something. Hey, what is this bastard doing? Fat Wang said impatiently, and then wanted to walk over and teach this inactive guy a lesson. Hubie immediately stopped him and didn't let him go. At this time, the sky changed immediately, and a breeze blew over, a few grains of sand blew up. And Lyman panicked, and then hurriedly got on the camel. What happened? Fat Wang asked. Quick, 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 hurry up. And Lyman shouted loudly on the camel, his voice full of fear. If we don't leave, we will be buried in the Black Desert, hurry. Quick. Quick. The wind came very fast, and a layer of rolled-up sandstorm appeared in the sky. Everyone got on the camels in a panic at this time, and then ran away with Lyman. The speed of the wind and sand was far faster than people thought, and the black desert, the horror is something they have never seen before. The current vision is very dark and they can't see clearly at all. Lyman and everyone are very worried. If they don't find a hiding place as soon as possible, then all of them will be buried in the black desert. But Sumu was very calm. He wore windproof glasses and looked around. With his night eyes, he saw the ruins of an ancient city in the desert. Sumu knew that this was where their vitality lay. In Sumu's field of vision, the darkness caused by the black desert was like daylight. Everything around him was so clear. Soon, he discovered the ruins of an ancient city and shouted, "Quick, follow me. There are ruins ahead." The surrounding terrain was very clear in Sumu's eyes. After he finished shouting, he immediately took Shirley Yang's hand and ran into the ancient city. Shirley Yang's body was not that weak, but Sumu was also worried about Shirley. Yang was in danger. In Sumu's eyes, this was his woman, who needed to be protected. Others had no idea, so they ran after Sumu. Along with the yellow sand in the sky, it was as terrifying as covering the sky and the sun, and everything was like it was as dark as night. Then, a group of people ran into the ancient city with difficulty. But just arriving at the ancient city did not relieve the crisis. Everyone hid under a wall, but there was still a lot of wind and sand blowing over, making their breathing difficult. It became a little difficult. A grain of crystal gravel floated into Shirley Yang's eyes, and she closed her eyes subconsciously. Now she could only endure it and could do nothing. Sumu looked around, and suddenly, he saw we arrived at a cave and we didn't know what was going on inside. "Come in with me." Sumu got into the hole first and smelled a very dry and weird smell. "This is the safest place right now." Others also got inside one after another to temporarily avoid the black wind and sand. Everyone was disgraced. They all swept away the dust on their bodies. However, at this moment, a strong black wind and sand blew over. Suddenly, like an earthquake, the whole cave seemed to be hit hard by a big hammer. Sumu quickly came to the entrance of the cave, found a stone slab, and blocked the entrance of the cave to prevent more wind and sand from coming in. The violent black wind and sand were raging across the entire land. Even the people inside could hear the wind and waves roaring outside, one wave after another. The waves were strong. These violent winds could even lift larger objects and hit the ground. Several people inside were frightened by the movement and trembled all over. Fortunately, they finally escaped here. Professor Chen exhaled a long breath and said with some emotion, "Oh, thanks to Sumu, otherwise, we might all fall here." Hubei gave Sumu a thumbs up, his eyes filled with admiration. "Yes, I thought you were so handsome and just a vase, but I didn't expect you to be so capable." Fatty Wang also praised. "Yes, you don't look like a newcomer." At this time, Fatty Wang's affection for Sumu doubled. Even Ding Sishan couldn't help but said, "Brother Sumu, thank you." Her eyes were shining. She had never experienced such danger. Just like a hero saving a beauty, Ding Sishan was already attracted to this person. "It's nothing, just a trivial matter," Sumu said casually. When everyone was thanking Sumu, Lyman also slowly looked at Sumu, and he was convinced. It was hard for him to think that there was someone better than him in this desert. A person who knows the place well. Even he can hardly see that there is a cave here. In this kind of weather, you can only find a place outside to endure it. If you are not careful, you will be swallowed by the wind and sand. He even thought that he was going to fall this time. "Oh, I never thought I could find a place like this." "You are very good, my friend," Lyman said sincerely. However, as soon as Sumu heard the word friend, he started to murmur. "It's okay, don't worry, It's fairly safe here. We'll wait until the sandstorm passes before going out. Sumyu smiled calmly and said, "Everyone, please take a rest." Everyone nodded, and then took some dry food, ready to replenish it. The dry food is nothing more than local steamed buns, but water resources are still very scarce, so they must use it sparingly. However, Sumyu did not tell everyone that in his accompanying space there are still a lot of water resources. He thought that these water resources must be used when they are in desperate situation. Otherwise, no matter how much water resources there are, they will only be wasted. Moreover, taking them out rashly will arouse others' suspicion. Tomb Raider, Marry Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 14. Sumyu handed the water to Shirley Yang. She hasn't spoken since just now. Sumyu looked back and found that the latter's eyes were full of tears. Shirley Yang was blinded by wind and sand before, but she hasn't recovered yet. What's wrong with you? Are you okay? Don't worry, we will definitely find your father, Sumyu comforted. He thought Shirley Yang was worried about his father, so he shed tears sadly. Shirley Yang's eyes did not open, they were always squinting. No, I just squinted my eyes because of the sand and felt very uncomfortable. Sumyu breathed a sigh of relief. I'll help you. So, Sumyu took out the kettle and washed her hands, then opened Shirley Yang's eyelids and gently helped her blow her eyes. A cool breeze blew by, and Shirley Yang suddenly felt that her eyes felt much more comfortable. After some tossing, Shirley Yang finally felt something leave her eyeballs, and the feeling of foreign body rubbing was gone. Thank you, Shirley, Yang said, with a happy smile on her face. Sumyu said, what does this mean? It's what I should do. The love between the two people immediately spread to everyone. Ding Sishan looked at these two people with great envy, feeling a strange feeling in her heart. Ouch, this wave of dog food is eating me up. Fatty Wang said speechlessly. Hu Bei said, what are you doing? Are your eyes also fascinated? Do you want me to blow it for you? Suddenly, Enliman said, Miss Ding Sixian, are your eyes uncomfortable? Ding Sishan was stunned for a moment, then took a step back with some fear. My eyes are fine, thank you. Ha ha ha. Fatty Wang couldn't stop laughing. He felt that Enliman was really interesting. This time I was deflated. Fat Wang said with a smile. Sumyu put a blanket on the ground, then held Shirley Yang and sat on it. He had already thought about it before. There must be a dirty environment everywhere here. Shirley Yang didn't. After experiencing this, he must be a little uncomfortable. So he took a blanket so that he could use it at critical moments. Sumyu's nose suddenly shrank slightly, and he smelled something. Because of his ancestor dragon blood, his 5 senses were very sensitive. The smell he smelled was somewhat familiar, but he couldn't remember where it was. He came to a nearby waste stone monument and took away some grains of sand. Then, he saw a green strap. This bag is very familiar. It seems to be the strap of a commonly used iron kettle. This is. Everyone gathered around to see what was in Sumyu's hand. Sumyu slowly opened the lid of the iron pot and narrowed his eyes. This turned out to be. Sumyu took out this thing. It was a piece of yellowish paper. It had something written on it that he didn't recognize. What's this? Sumyu asked, holding up this thing. Professor Chen looked very excited after seeing the words on it. He immediately stepped forward and took the thing. This is my dad's thing. Before Professor Chen could speak, Shirley Yang started to get excited. She hurried over and held the pot in her arms, even looking a little panicked. Professor Chen looked at the words on it and was slightly moved. Sumyu asked Professor Chen, what is written on this? Professor Chen smacked his lips and said, well, this is Morse code and needs to be translated. So he handed it over to Ding Sishan. Xiao Ding, Please translate this. My eyesight is hard to use. The environment here is too dark. Good Professor Chen. Ding Sishan took the paper, and then started to translate with her head lowered. She looked very serious, quite like a female scholar. Ding Sishan soon solved the matter and said, Professor Chen, I have finished the interpretation. Quick, tell everyone quickly. Ding Si nodded, and then said. It said that they encountered Hefengsha here. In desperation, they came to this place to obey Hefengsha. They felt that there were many dangers ahead, but he had to go, so he left his last words here, hoping that people who saw to be able to take the contents of this out and give it to his daughter. He loves her daughter very much. He hopes that if Shirley Yang comes, she can go back quickly and not lose her life in vain. He also hopes that his son-in-law can take good care of Shirley Yang. The most important thing is that two people can live a good life. Hearing this, Shirley Yang was shocked. She kept shaking her head. No, no, I have to save my father. I can't just let him go. Professor Chen comforted him. It's better to think about it. It's so dangerous ahead. If you insist on going, there's nothing I can do about it. Shirley Yang took a deep breath, scanned the surrounding people, and finally looked at Sumyu. I don't want to disappoint my father, and I don't want to give up on my father, so, I want to go alone. Tomb Raider, marry Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 15. I don't want to disappoint my father, and I don't want to give up on my father, so, I want to go alone. After hearing Shirley Yang's words, everyone was a little shocked. You know how dangerous it is to go alone, so there is no doubt that you will die. Sumyu was slightly startled and asked, why do you want to go alone? This road is too dangerous. I don't want you to get hurt. If I can ensure your safety by going alone, I am willing. Before Shirley Yang could finish her words, Sumyu immediately interrupted her. No, I can't let you go alone. I said, I will protect you for the rest of my life. Sumyu's expression was very serious, his eyes were sincere, and he looked like he would go through fire and water without hesitation. Seeing such domineering Sumyu, Shirley Yang was moved in her heart, and tears appeared faintly in her eyes. Shirley Yang stared at him affectionately, looking into his deep eyes, he said. Thank you, and I am so lucky to be married to you. Hubei said, don't worry, we will also protect you. At this time, her teammates also stood up and said this, which made Shirley Yang feel warm in her heart. I'll help you too. We won't pay it back until we break it. The fat man said with a smile. Yes, we are confident, Ding Sishan said. Seeing everyone mustering up the courage to encourage themselves, Shirley Yang was moved. Okay, everyone, get some rest now. We'll be on our way as soon as possible early tomorrow morning, Professor Chen said. Oh my, they are all so impressive. And Lyman suddenly said at one place. Everyone looked over. It was very rare that he didn't say those words of giving up, but only made a joke. Any of you will go outside with me to pick up some dead branches? And Lyman said. I'll go with you. Then, several people followed and Lyman out. When they came outside, they bought some dry firewood, lit it and put it at the door. They also lit some inside the house to keep warm at night. In this place, there is a sentence that is particularly vivid and appropriate: wear cotton padded jackets in the morning and gauze in the afternoon, and eat watermelon around the stove. The temperature difference between day and night here is also very large. The desert is not warm, and it is very cold at night. If there is no heating, they may freeze to death. Oops, the wind is really strong outside. If we hadn't held hands, we might not have been able to come back, the fat man joked. Hubei said to Lyman, when I was outside just now, I saw some animal footprints, the footprints of wolves. Fatty Wang also said, yes, I saw 6 or 7 yellow sheep outside just now. And Lyman sighed and said, "This sand cave is specially prepared by God for those animals. Now you only see yelps and wolves, and maybe leopards. There is a sandstorm blowing outside right now, and all the animals on the ground are frightened. When the sandstorm passes, you will find that the wolves and sheep will be hiding in the same room. At that time, if it is a wolf, it will show its teeth, and if it is a gazelle, it will show the horns on its head." Ding. Sishan's expression changed and she said, "According to what you say, the wolf and leopard will find us." "Yes, we can escape this storm." The fat man nodded and said, "There's probably no way to hide from these beasts." When Lyman saw that Ding Sishan was scared, he immediately stopped what he was about to say and said no more. And Professor Chen said, "Fat man, please stop talking. After all, Ding Sishan is still a girl. Aren't you making her scared?" Hubei said, "Isn't this just to relieve the tense atmosphere? Today is the first time we have seen the power of this desert. Now we will learn a lesson." Professor Chen was a little emotional and said, "We are called fighting against the sky and the earth, and it is endless fun." These words really make sense now that I think about it. Ding Sishan murmured in a low voice. She picked up something from the ground and fiddled with it, slightly dazed. "Xiao xiao xiao, xiao Ding, what are you holding in your hand?" Suddenly, Fatty Wang stammered. Ding Sishan was a little stunned, and then looked down at the thing in her hand. She suddenly found a white bone, which stayed in her hand. It was a slender bone. "Ribs." "Ah!" Ding Sishan screamed, threw the bones in her hands on the ground, and then couldn't help but hide back. Sumu was right next to him, supporting her. "Bones, so many bones, it scares me to death." Ding Sishan was obviously frightened. Everyone was also surprised, and then they came closer and looked at these bones. "I'm sorry, I didn't expect there to be human bones here, and I wasn't mentally prepared enough." Ding Sishan felt a little apologetic when she saw everyone gathered around her, so she quickly apologized. "It's okay, Xiao Ding, no one blames you." Professor Chen wore glasses, looked at the bones on the ground, and said, "These seem to be real human bones." Sumu looked at these human bones and couldn't help but frown. He suddenly said, "No, there's something wrong with these bones." "What's strange?" Professor Chen asked. "The flesh and bones of the dead in the desert do not rot and are usually mummified after being naturally dried," Sumu said, pointing to a spot on the surface of the bone. "But look at these bones, they are very clean and there is no human flesh at all." And Lyman sat quietly on the ground and said casually, "Maybe it was eaten by wolves. It is very possible that this person stayed here to avoid the storm and was later attacked by an animal, so we still need to take turns to keep vigil." Hubei said. But Sumu felt strange and said, "No, there are many fine gnawing marks on the bones. It doesn't look like they were gnawed by wolf's teeth." Professor Chen asked, "Then what do you think this is?" "I don't know either." Sumu shook his head and said no more. In fact, of course he had a guess in his mind. But this was just a guess. He hoped that he was wrong. In the original work, these should be caused by desert army ants. Now their plot is slightly different. If something changes, maybe this kind of thing won't happen anymore. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tomb Raider, marry Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 16. Shirley Yang stared at the human bones on the ground, wondering whose bones they belonged to. She felt a little emotional and said, "These people have no identity or any information. Their bones are exposed here and their souls cannot live in peace. It's so pitiful." Sumu put his arm around Shirley Yang's shoulders and comforted her. In this world, there are countless explorers who have experienced hardships and obstacles, but they did not give up, just to implement their dreams. They died here, which can be regarded as dying for their dreams. Don't worry, their souls have been saved. Sublimation. Let's bury these human bones and put them to rest. Professor Chen was a little sad when he saw Shirley Yang, and then he led everyone to bury the bones of these people. A group of people took shovels and dug on the ground. While digging, Hu Bei's shovel poked something, made a crisp sound. What's going on? Is it over? Hu Bei said doubtfully. It's impossible, this house shouldn't be so short, the fat man said. Did you find something underneath? Ding Sishan asked. I'll take a picture of you. The fat man took out a flashlight and shined it into the pit. Hu Bei continued to dig around the dug place, digging out many sand grains. Sumu suddenly felt uneasy. He felt something was about to be dug out. Everyone gathered around and looked at this place. As they dug, a black stone egg appeared. Hu Bei said, "What is this?" Everyone was a little confused, but Sumu was a little shocked. He knew what was under here, and he thought that this place is so big, how could you dig this? So, he hurriedly said, maybe this is some taboo, we still find another place to dig. Xiang Fatty said, look at your thoughts, what are the taboos? We are standard materialists, it's okay, dig it. So, everyone continued to dig, dug, and finally dug out. It turned out to be a giant-eyed stone statue. The whole thing was black. Especially the eyes, which were very huge and accounted for almost 1/5 of the face. 1. It's a stone statue head. This shape is too ugly. Fatty Wan complained. This is like an idol enshrined in a mountain temple. Hu Bei said. Ding Sishan stared at the statue for a long time, and suddenly said to Hu Bei, Lao Hu, does this stone statue look familiar? Hu Bei shook his head and said, I don't know either. Professor Chen immediately remembered. I remembered that in the 1,000 Coffins tomb in Xinjiang, there seemed to be a body exactly like this one, with very huge eyes, which were different from ordinary people. Sumu suddenly said this should be the giant-eyed stone statue. Professor Chen couldn't help but glance at him and said, that's right, but it's not just that one place, there are also places in Tianshan, Altai, and Hotan River Basin. Such giant-eyed stone statues have also been found in the Mongolian grasslands. Shirley. Yang asked, is there anything going on with this stone statue? Sumu looked at her and explained, as for the origin of the stone statue, there are different opinions in the archaeological community. Some scholars once proposed that it was some kind of god worshipped by the Mongolians, but some people said that it was an ancient god. What the Turks left behind is still an unsolved mystery. After hearing Sumu's words, everyone looked at him with surprise on their faces. Forget about Professor Chen, Sumu knew so much at such a young age, and his profound knowledge impressed everyone. There seems to be some tantric scriptures recorded on it. I should quickly record it and study it carefully when I get back. So, he quickly took pictures, while Ding Sishan took notes with pen and paper. When Sumu stared at the stone statue, he suddenly discovered that one of the eyes of the giant-pupilled stone statue suddenly moved. Depend on. The sudden foul language shocked everyone. Shirley Yang asked what happened. Sumu gathered the bone puppet full, looked into the eyes of this giant-eyed stone statue, and said, I just saw the eyes move. Originally in a closed and dark environment, everyone was a little scared. Now that Sumu said such a sentence, they all murmured in their hearts. Everyone looked over and suddenly saw a big ant. He turned around in one eyeball. Then, several more giant black ants appeared. Enliman was shocked and his eyes widened. He said in shock, yes, they are desert army ants. This thing can chew people into bones. Sumu looked unkind. He knew that since there were a few here, there must be a group not far away. Hu Bei had suffered a big loss from him back then. Hurry, kill them quickly before these desert army ants call their companions over. So, Everyone picked up their shovels and killed the desert army ants on the ground. While everyone was dealing with the desert army ants, Sumu was suddenly stunned. Because these people, and those around the desert army ants, actually a lot of light groups fell. Some of these light groups were dim and some were bright. Sumu was moved in his heart. He didn't expect that these army ants could also drop attributes. But what attributes were they this time? At this time, a burst of a mechanical and cold system prompt sounded in Sumu's mind. Ding! It is found that desert army ants drop attributes. Should they be picked up automatically? Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 17. A sudden voice surprised Sumu. He hasn't played with the system yet, and he doesn't know what attributes it has this time. However, the last attribute had already brought him a surprise. This time, it shouldn't be any worse, right? Without hesitation, Sumu immediately ordered pick it up. Ding, the attributes are being picked up automatically. Ding, congratulations to the host. Gain the immense strength of desert army ants. Great power attribute. Before Sumu had time to be surprised, he immediately felt the changes in his body. Although the muscle mass has not increased, every muscle on the body has undergone qualitative changes. Especially in terms of density, it is very tight. He could even feel that his body seemed to contain an explosive power. This made Sumu very excited. You must know that ants are the best at using strength in nature. An ant can even lift dozens or even hundreds of times its own weight. This is evident. Sumu felt it seriously. It seemed that this power was different from his previous power. It seems that the original power is his original power, but the current power seems to be added with a mechanical arm, which is terrifying and abnormal. He was sure that his body structure had also changed, but he had not expressed it clearly yet. Sumu was convinced that the power he was exerting now was much greater than before. Although it can't really use its own power dozens or even hundreds of times like ants, a few times doesn't seem to be a problem. The system continues. Ding! Congratulations to the host, you have obtained Hubei soil sniffing and cave exploring skill attributes. Sumu was slightly startled. When did Hubei learn this skill? However, this world has been changed by myself, so there is nothing strange about it. Moreover, smelling soil and exploring caves was originally a skill of Captain Mojin. It is natural to have this skill. However, Sumu knew the practical and terrifying aspects of this skill. Those who do the fighting only need to shovel the Luoyang shovel into the ground, then pull it out, and smell the soil brought out to roughly smell what is underneath. No matter what kind of tomb is underneath, you can smell it and tell whether it is bad or good. So Sumu was still very satisfied. This practical and perverted ability can be well used in tomb robbing life in the future. He is now more and more confident about his future life in the tomb robbing world. However, the surrounding attribute light spots have not completely disappeared. The system continues. Ding! Congratulations to the host, you have obtained Fatty Wang's precise marksmanship attribute. Ding! Congratulations to the host, you have obtained Shirley Yang's precise marksmanship attribute. Two voices sounded in Sumu's mind one after another, and he was suddenly stunned. This attribute is something that can only be found. Marksmanship, how many bullets are needed to feed it? Not only bullets, but also talent. Although Sumu knows a little bit, his talent in this area is not very good and he is not very good at it. Fatty Wang is very talented, and he was a soldier before, so he can be said to be very proficient in marksmanship. His marksmanship is unparalleled in the world of tomb robbers. His shots are basically flawless, and he is very good at all kinds of guns and ammunition. Although he has a big personality, no matter from any angle, Fatty Wang is a difficult person to figure out, and sometimes he can give people big surprises. As for Shirley Yang, in the foreign country where she lives, there are no restrictions on guns. As long as you have a gun license, you can use them. Shirley Yang has practiced shooting since she was a child. This is the result of her father and their family often training her and training her. This resulted in the birth of another sharpshooter. Sumyu suddenly discovered a problem at this time. These light groups are divided into two types. The first one is the skill, which allows Sumyu to master another skill. The second type is experience. For example, this time, Sumyu learned the marksmanship skills of Shirley Yang and Fatty Wang. He could only deepen this experience, but he knew that he had not yet reached the state of perfection. In other words, no matter how many light groups there are now, this skill will never end. So there is only one way, which is to keep working hard to absorb more light groups. There are many capable people in this world. Sumyu is sure that his spear skills, and even other experiences and skills he will gain in the future, will become more and more abundant. In other words, he will become stronger and stronger. At this time, everyone kept slapping the army ants and finally got rid of them. The corpses of the army ants were lying on the ground, which made them feel a little scared. Fatty Wang cursed and stepped all the corpses into the sand. Sumyu's current abilities have been greatly improved. He is very satisfied with his current system capabilities. This ability is really buggy. He is now looking forward to what will happen next. In addition, he possesses the ancestral dragon bloodline, which is higher than the unicorn blood. Maybe entering Jingju Ancient City will become easier. Tomb Raider, marry Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 18. When Sumyu was in a daze, Shirley Yang came to Sumyu's side. "Husband, are you okay?" Shirley Yang stretched out her hand and gently grasped Sumyu's hand. Sumyu was stunned for a moment, but when he was touched by such a tender hand that looked like mutton fat white jade, he immediately came back to his senses. Sumyu looked at Shirley Yang and said, "What's wrong?" Shirley Yang couldn't help laughing and rolled her eyes at Sumyu. "You asked me what happened. I want to ask you what happened. You are a little absent-minded now. Did something happen?" Sumyu finally came to his senses and smiled slightly. "No, I just felt a little emotional just now." "What are you feeling?" Shirley Yang leaned her little head on Sumyu's strong right shoulder and continued to ask. Sumyu thought for a while and said, "It's okay. Now that the army ants have been dealt with, I think we should tidy up quickly and light a few more fires. This can also effectively prevent the army ants from coming, and we also have the means to resist." And Lyman also agreed, "That's right, that's right. The thing I'm most afraid of is fire." "What this guy said is pretty reliable, Sumyu said nonchalantly. "We are all friends." "Friends, of course, can't coax people." Sumyu imitated Lyman's accent and said such a sentence, which made everyone laugh. And Lyman secretly glanced at Ding Sishan's little face and laughed. After chatting, I took some dry firewood again and set up fires all around. There is a huge temperature difference between day and night in the desert. Wear a cotton jacket in the morning and wear a gauze in the afternoon, and eat watermelon around the stove. This is the kind of place we are talking about. It is not yet late at night, and the temperature is so it's already below 10 degrees. The temperature of the fire can keep Sumu and the others from getting too cold at night. And everyone takes turns to be on duty to avoid the fire going out, or the jackals invading, or the army ants coming. However, in order taking care of the girls, the boys were considerate and did not let these girls go out to work the night shift. When it was Sumyu's turn to work the night shift, he was bored and started to look at the moon in the sky. There was still a lot of wind and sand whizzing by outside, blocking it from time to time. Sumyu's sight was caught. Sumyu was not depressed about this, only his understanding of heaven and earth. This world will always be huge, and human beings are just a small race. He knew that he could be considered a small person in this world. man. But through this system, he firmly believed that he would be able to defeat the sky in the future. Nothing happened that night, and the storm had stopped when they came out in the morning. And Lyman went out to observe his camel. This was what he the most precious life. Professor Chen and his students began to pack their bags and prepare to leave. The giant-eyed statue had been recorded by them, so there was no need to take it away. Sumu also knew that it was nothing value, so they gave up the stone statue directly. It couldn't be sold for much money, so why put it in the Sumi space? After everyone cleaned up, they continued on their way. The sun in the desert was very fierce. Sumu and others were walking on the desert. It was very slow. I don't know how long it took. Except for the pervert Sumu, almost everyone was tired and thirsty. The fat man stopped talking, and even the camel under him slowed down. It was obvious that even the so-called desert boats were somewhat unable to support themselves. It's not a problem to continue like this, I have to find a place to rest as soon as possible to replenish my strength. Sitting on the leading camel, Sumu glanced around and glanced casually. It really made him discover something. I saw a blurry building faintly appearing in front of the right side of the team. Sumu felt happy. Look, there is an ancient city there. Everyone looked up after hearing the words, and saw that there was actually an ancient city in the direction that Sumu pointed. A red sun slowly appeared on the horizon of the vast sea of sand. Under the golden light, an ancient and majestic city, the outline of the city ruins appeared in front of everyone. The ancient city looked majestic and grand, but lifeless and full of dilapidated and depressed feeling. They quickly realized that this was clearly an exquisite ancient city. That should be the ancient city of Jingzhou. Professor Chen said excitedly. Shirley Yang's eyes became bright. She held a photo in her hand, and the ancient city on it was exactly the same as the one in front of her. Shirley Yang's eyes filled with tears. And, finally found. She didn't expect that she would find Jingzhou ancient city so quickly. She didn't know if her father was in any danger inside. Shirley Yang crossed his arms in a prayer pose and prayed for his father. And Lyman seemed to be relieved. In this desert, the most fearful thing is a desperate human heart. The target was right in front of them, and everyone couldn't help but speed up their pace. However, this ancient city looked very close, but when they walked, they found that it was much farther than they imagined. Sometimes it even feels like there is an illusory place ahead. No matter how you run, there is no way to reach the end. After walking for a long time, they finally arrived outside the city. And Lyman begged God, please bless the wells in this city to still have water. Sumu looked at him and smiled. Don't worry, there are wells in this place, and there should be various measures to store water. Because this place is a city, there were many architects when they were building the city, and they should have thought of this. Everyone got off the camels and tied them in a fairly spacious building in the ancient city. Professor Chen began to ask people to divide the work. Shirley Yang and Ding Sishan found a place to station. His students and An Li Man Man went to find a living well. Fatty Wang, Hu Bei, and Sumu went to explore the surrounding situation. Sumu and the others searched here for a long time and found nothing unusual. However, at this moment, Shirley Yang returned from behind. Ding Sishan shouted. The three of them ran over quickly. What's going on? What's going on? What are you shouting? Fatty Wang asked nervously, thinking that something special had happened. Then, Shirley Yang said excitedly, look, we found traces of someone stationed there. This is what my father left behind. Sumu and others took a look and saw that these are the remains of human life. There are also many daily necessities. Although I don't know where Shirley Yang saw it. But now it is a good thing, proving that her father is really came to this place. Hello. Come here quickly. It was at this time that An Lyman also shouted. Oh my God, I can't stop people from doing that, So what's going on over there? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Tomb Raider, marry Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 19. Just as Shirley Yang finished shouting, and Lyman suddenly started shouting too. Oh my god, you still told others to stop, so what happened over there? Fat Wang was a little helpless. But a few people still rushed to Lyman's side. At this moment, Lyman was folding his hands on his chest, kneeling on the ground, with a pious face and cheering. We found the live well, we found the live well. Lyman was very excited. As long as he found water, it proved that everyone was saved. In the desert, water resources are very scarce. Everyone was overjoyed. This is indeed a well with water in it. Shirley Yang noticed a rope next to the well. Someone had obviously used it. There is a rope here, which should be used by my father and others to fetch water, but... Shirley Yang hesitated to speak. Sumu shook Shirley Yang's hand. I know what you mean. Father and the others might have been forced to leave because of something and left something behind, right? Shirley Yang nodded, her face heavy. At this moment, there is no redundant information. She couldn't know her father's safety, and her whole heart was lifted. Sumu comforted him. Don't worry, it's okay. Since there are no corpses here, it means they escaped this disaster. Shirley Yang took a long breath, and now she could only think like this. Several people nearby looked at each other, feeling more wary. In this strange place, everything is unknown. They were becoming more cautious at this time, fearing that something strange or dangerous would happen. So everyone was extra careful when fetching water. I'm afraid that something shouldn't appear in the well again. Fatty's gun was always pointed at the mouth of the well, ready to defeat the enemy with one move. Fortunately, the danger they imagined has not yet appeared. Lyman also fetched a lot of water for his camels to drink. Ding Sishan also felt comfortable this time. She used a lot of water to wash her hair and face, and only needed a shower. At night, everyone was stationed in the ancient city. A bonfire was also lit outside the tent. Everyone is hungry and needs to replenish their energy. As soon as Sumu and Hubie went out to fetch water, the fat man kept an eye on Lyman, fearing that he would be cowardly and unjust and sneak away with the camel. The rest of the people cooked around the campfire. When Sumu and Hubie came back from fetching water, they heard Fatty Wang's extremely excited shouting from a distance. Hey, come on, Lao Hu, let me show you some foreign stuff. Hubie was stunned for a moment. When he looked up, he saw other people forming a circle and staring at Shirley Yang. At this time, Shirley Yang was cooking. As soon as Hubie and Sumu came up, they heard comments from Professor Chen. Xiao Yang, are these portable vegetables? Shirley Yang nodded and said, yes, that's right. It's so convenient. It can be stored for a long time and can be easily carried. It's so good. Professor Chen kept praising it, and it seemed that Shirley Yang's cooking was very rare. I saw water boiling in a pot on the campfire, and there were some floating objects in the water. These were dehydrated vegetables that Shirley Yang threw in. Lyman said, hey, sister, is this the vegetable we usually eat? Shirley Yang nodded and said yes, this kind of dehydrated vegetables removes the water from the vegetables, but still retains its color and nutrition. It is very suitable for field work. Onlaman is also suitable for you. When you have this in the future, you don't have to drink dry food or cold drinks, Professor Chen said to Lyman. Sumu smiled slightly, thinking that this thing could make these people so rare. He used to eat instant noodles every day, and he had long since stopped liking it. But these people in China in the 1970s and 1980s, I have never seen these things, so I think these dehydrated vegetables are very strange. And in this desert, Being able to eat vegetables is even more delicious. Is this expensive? And Lyman is most concerned about this issue. This one was specially invented by NASA, so the price is slightly higher, Shirley Yang said. The fat man couldn't help but said Miss Yang has hidden it deeply enough, and she hasn't taken it out for so many days. If I had taken it out earlier, you would have finished eating it long ago. I just want to wait for the critical moment to take it out later, so that its value can be reflected. Shirley Yang rolled her eyes. Ding Xishan smiled and said, yes, I understand. My father often told me that remembering the bitter and remembering the sweet, this is also the origin of my name. With dehydrated vegetables in this meal, everyone ate very deliciously. As soon as Hu Bie finished the last sip, he looked at the surrounding desert and couldn't help but smacked his lips and sighed. This western region is an eternal mystery, a treasure of the world, and the source of culture. Fat Wang was a little unhappy. I said, Lao Hu, I won't stop loving you when you say this. What's the matter? You've been in the western regions for a few days and you've forgotten all about me. Isn't this bad in Kyoto? In Kyoto, there is a big city above, but maybe there are treasures below. When Fatty Wang was talking enthusiastically, Ding Xishan quickly grabbed him and winked. Apparently tell him to stop talking. Fatty Wang doesn't know what he's talking about. If he keeps talking, he might spill the beans. If they reveal their purpose, and Lyman will notice it. But look at Lyman now, how can I hear it? Now Lyman only glanced at Ding Xishan from time to time and kept smiling stupidly. Fatty Wang teased disdainfully, the moonlight is charming, so it is suitable for doing some romantic things. Ding Xishan was slightly stunned. Only then did she notice that Lyman was staring at her non-stop, and she suddenly became ashamed. Everyone laughed. At this moment, Hu Bie inadvertently looked up at the sky, and suddenly his smile gradually faded. Well, Lyman, Ding Xishan said that she wants to see what camel hair looks like. You go and get a few strands, preferably from different camels. Hu Bie suddenly spoke. Ding Xishan was stunned and wanted to explain, but Hu Bie pulled his sleeve and stopped him. Ding Xishan looked at Hu Bie with some doubts, and finally chose he didn't speak. As soon as he heard that it was Ding Xishan's order, Lyman immediately became energetic. He didn't even think about it and stood up immediately. Okay, Miss Ding, just wait for me, I'll go right away. So, he ran away in a hurry, looking very excited, as if he had seized some opportunity. At this time, Ding Xishan asked in confusion, Brother Hu, what are you doing? When will I come? I said I wanted camel hair. Hu Bie looked at the sky again and said in a deep voice, I found something. Did you find something? Everyone was a little curious and looked at Hu Bie. What could allow Hu Bie to find an opportunity to get rid of Lyman? Thinking like this, everyone's heart suddenly lit up. Could it be that, is it related to the tomb? Tomb Raider, Mary Shirley Young at the beginning. Author, October is fierce and cute. Chapter 20. While everyone was thinking, Hu Bie spoke again. There seems to be something wrong with this horoscope. Look at the hexagrams arranged in the sky. I have seen this formation in the 16-character yin-yang secretary. Hu Bie looked solemn and continued, this is definitely not an ordinary place, it is a rare treasure. Everyone looked up, but couldn't see anything. Seeing this, Hu Bie immediately took out a compass, which is a professional feng shui tester. He kept changing directions while looking at the sky and the compass. Xiao Hu, did you see anything? Professor Chen asked. Professor Chen, there should be a big tomb here. Hu Bie slowly spoke. Big tomb. Could it be the big tomb of the queen? Many people looked at Hu Bie with bright eyes. Hu Bie pointed to the sky and said. The Jimin star, the auxiliary star on the left, the Bai star on the right, and the three shining stars are arranged in a triangle. The Sun Star and the Lunar Star appear side by side in the center, forming a group of golden and auspicious stars. What the hell is Jamin seeing, Zofyuxing? What the hell is Ganjia Jinjixing? Many people present have no idea what Hubei is talking about. Fatty Wang finally couldn't help but say, Lao Hu. Please say something that all of us can understand. Hu. Bei ignored him and still murmured to himself. And the corresponding position between them is, the well from before. That well. Could it be that the well is a tomb? How is it possible? Fatty Wang and others stared at the position of the wellhead with their eyes wide open, looking surprised. To be honest, Sumu was also a little confused. Moreover, it seems that Hubei and others did not find any big tomb here in the original work. What is going on? Just when Sumu was puzzled, he suddenly noticed that Hubei had fallen from his body. A sparkling object fell out. Sumu's eyes lit up. It was an attribute light group. At this time, the familiar prompt tone of the system also sounded. Ding, if you find a light group with attribute, will you pick it up automatically? Without hesitation, Sumu immediately clicked OK. Ding. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Hubei's ability to observe stars and examine tombs. Stargazing and identifying tombs. Sumu felt happy. Wasn't this what Hubei was talking about just now? The next second, a powerful message flooded into Sumu's mind. It contains a lot of knowledge. There are many positions of the stars, as well as various strange gates and gossips. Sumu felt that his eyes immediately became different. And he understood all the things Hubei said before. He also saw that the group of stars above and the corresponding tomb were indeed large tombs. The direction corresponding to the entrance of the tomb is roughly at that location. But what Hubei said is not accurate enough. The well where the water was drawn contained only water and nothing else. The real entrance is another well. But Hubei didn't know this, not even the knowledgeable Professor Chen. Even Shirley Yang, who has always been a rigorous thinker, was pleasantly surprised when she heard the news. It was hard for Sumu to disturb their mood at this moment. So, with Hubei as the leader, everyone headed to the previous well. Come on, let's go over and have a look. At this moment, Enliman has not come back yet. He is still concentrating on making camel hair. Moreover, his face is full of entanglement. He regrets so much in his heart that he agreed to this matter. These camels are him. His life. The thought of plucking a few camel hairs from his lifeline made him feel uncomfortable. So now he is struggling with how to deal with these things without hurting his precious camel. Looking at this situation, it is probably possible. It's confusing enough. On the other side, Sumu and others have arrived at the well. But after investigating for a long time, everyone except Sumu was stunned. Because they didn't find any entrance mechanism at all. Fatty Wang curled his lips and said, Lao Hu, what does this mean? Are you sure you read it correctly? Hubei was also confused at this moment. He calculated it again without believing anything evil. The result was exactly the same as what he saw just now. Hubei was going crazy at this moment. That's right, the general direction corresponding to the stars is in this area. But why can't I find the entrance to the tomb? Shirley Yang has given up hope at this moment. She has calmed down a lot now that her mood has calmed down. Normally, she would not believe in the mysterious thing of looking for a tomb by looking at the stars. Now that she has calmed down, she is getting more and more confused. It feels unreasonable. This well is full of water. No matter how superb the construction skills of the ancients were, they couldn't possibly build the entrance to the tomb underwater, right? Shirley Yang's analysis made everyone feel that it made sense. Moreover, the fact that the entrance to the tomb has not been found yet seems to confirm Shirley Yang's statement. Hubei still held the compass in his hand and said, Real. The approximate location of the tomb is here, so we only need to find the entrance to the tomb in this area. Brother Hu, are you sure? Ding Sishan opened her eyes wide, pointed to the well in front and said, are you sure there is a big tomb down here? I heard the sound of water below. Believe me, this is a traditional craft. Hu Ba waved the compass in his hand and said confidently. Fatty Wang also echoed yes, this ability of observing stars and debating tombs is not something ordinary people can know. Then, Fatty Wang grabbed some soil at the mouth of a well and smelled it. Ding Sishan was next to him and felt a little strange when he saw Fatty Wang like this. Fatty, what are you doing?